Hi, welcome to Ladies of Another View. I'm Beck, and I'm joined today by Jan. Oh, I'm skipped over Andrea, Jan, and my usual co-host, Mary. And as usual, we start out by taking a look at what was on The View today, because we feel that the mainstream media is censoring a lot of the more traditional views. So we take a look and weigh in. It was an unusual day today, at least for me, because I kind of agreed with them on a lot of stuff, which is so not typical. Usually we're at opposite ends of the spectrum. But the first thing they brought up this morning was the death threat, at least in his speech. I'm sure he didn't mean it literally. But Trump campaign lawyer Joe DiGiovanna, this past Monday during an appearance on a radio program in Boston, he said of the former U.S. cybersecurity official, Christopher Krebs, that he should be taken out, drawn and shot and quartered. And because of how he handled the elections. And so they were all over that's wrong, that's violent, you're encouraging people with death threats. And I thought, yeah, that was a really stupid thing to say. It doesn't help anybody. What was your reaction?
So I agree. It's not something that I would say. It's not something I would want anyone in my circles to be saying. Generally speaking, I would generally want those kinds of people outside of my circles. But at the same time, I don't think that we should be responsible for claiming everything that someone else says and defending their speech. So I don't necessarily agree that just because somebody who is aligned with you on one issue or even a couple of issues says something offensive or mean-spirited or wrong, that means that I then need to take the time to speak on their behalf and say that what they said was wrong. No. They are responsible for answering for their own actions and for their own speech, not me. I'm responsible for answering for my own actions and my own speech. So that's where I would differ with them.
Good point. Yes, I like that.
And I think that a lot of the folks are speaking out of pure emotion. And I know that there's a lot of people that don't maybe say the exact right thing when they are speaking from a place of passion. They are kind of bringing it forward in a way that brings out the worst in them, and they say things in the heat of the moment. So I don't think that they meant it.
Well, and I agree, they didn't mean it per se, okay? But you have to understand that these people had been doxxed. And by being doxxed, what happened was they put their families' names and addresses, they put everything out there on the internet. And they said it was a very far left-wing organization that doxxed these people. But they were afraid for their lives too. They had been threatened, they had been doxxed. Everybody knows everything about them, and so he said it in haste. Should have he said it? No, absolutely not. But did he mean it? It'd be like, you know, my kid's doing something wrong and say, hey, well, I'm going to kill him if he does that again. That's kind of the spirit I think it was set in. Yes. Would I kill my kids? No, that's not what you do. But it's just a saying. And so I'm going to give him a pass. Should have it been said and done? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You really have to watch yourself, especially these days. People pick everything apart. Everything you say is documented. And so we all need to be careful on those type of issues.
I completely agree. He said it in the emotion of the moment, and it is like saying, I'm going to kill you. Like, nobody thinks that's what you mean. What is interesting, though, when they went to the next topic, and they had a little clip from Obama, who was talking about the whole defund the police. And he was saying, which goes completely against what they just, they attacked that he said those words, drawn and quartered and should be shot. Obama was saying, words matter, be careful. You shouldn't be saying defund the police because it's being misunderstood and it's being used against us. It's not conveying the proper message. Now, he's a politician and he's thinking that the speech isn't working for you. And I would say that's my feeling too. And I argued with people so many times on so many issues and the whole defund the police. They're saying, well, we don't really mean to defund the police. What was interesting is that the four hosts did not all agree because Sunny said, no, we should not be co-opting their movement, and they came up with defund the police and it shouldn't be touched. but the others didn't agree, especially Sarah. Sarah says, well, I'm not a part of this conversation, but I feel you should be expanding your audience and not shrinking it by your message. Yeah, absolutely. And Sunny said, why aren't you a part of the conversation? She said, because I've tried to be a part of the conversation, but I'm criticized because of my skin color, which is white. Like, yeah, we don't get to have opinions anymore.
So is she saying
Yes,
it?
she was. Yep.
Yeah, I thought she said it really well, because we have been excluded from the conversation. They don't want us to participate in the conversation. I'm not sure if that's because they don't want to hear what we have to say. It may be that they only want to hear things that agree with them. It may not be. But regardless, if they are going to use language to convey a message and I'm going to hear it, then I'm still a part of their audience. And they are trying to persuade us to agree with their line of thinking. And if they're using imprecise language just because it makes a nice rallying cry, that doesn't help further their message if I can't understand what it is that they're saying.
And I think too that Sunny maybe had her blinders on and her mind closed a little bit. She wasn't very willing to let Sarah even finish her thought on that. And if you are saying Black Lives Matter and you want the perspective of someone that is not black, then let them have their say. Sarah was trying to point out that because she is not a person of color, she didn't have as much of a voice in the conversation as those who were. And it made it tough for her to get her point across because Sunny kept cutting her off and saying that we don't want the other side or the far right to steal our message or change our narrative. But if you never give them a chance to speak or to learn what you're about, you're never going to be able to continue that conversation and close that divide.
Right. And I agree. Former President Obama, he nailed it. He really did. He said progressive Democrats need to be careful how they pitch their platforms. And so, love him or hate him, he's really good at communicating. And I have to give him kudos for that. He said, don't say defund the police. He said, you're not going to get the changes that you want done. You're going to alienate so many people, not only on the right and on the left. I mean, nobody really wants to defund the police except the very far, far left. And so he said, you're going to lose part of your base if you use that type. So I would agree with his suggestion. I don't always agree with him. But I agree this time that he had a great statement. Got to give him credit for that, absolutely.
And it was funny, Sunny dug in her heels. She was passionate, like, nope, he's wrong. We have to keep this message. What I think is interesting is I use the same logic with Kaepernick and taking a knee and not standing during the Pledge of Allegiance. My point was always, shouldn't you add and not divide? Why would you anger your base? You want to collect all the people that agree with you and not split them up by being controversial. And so basically what Obama was saying is exactly what I have been saying. Like, why did you turn something we all agree on into a controversial topic? So now you've got your base, everybody's mad at each other now. So, okay, we have more to talk about when we come back right after this message.
Beck Communications is honored to be recently recognized with 3 Broadband Now awards. Beck Communications Cooperative was awarded in the categories of Top Internet Speeds Nationwide, Top 3 Fastest Internet Providers in North Dakota, and North Dakota's #1 Fastest Fiber Provider. It's only through the support of our members and customers that Beck Fiber delivers award-winning speeds and service. Thank you, Beck Communications Cooperative members and customers, for your years of continued support.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting Us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, you can trust us to make home loans easy. You can fill out an application online, on the phone, or in person. People who have used online-only companies have found it very difficult and frustrating if they have a question. But with us, you can just stop in. We are real people supporting you and the communities we serve, keeping North Dakota money working for the benefit of our communities.
Serving the community, looking out for you. At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Howdy folks, it's the Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather, like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Hi, welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. And during the first segment, we were looking at the View and what was on this morning, and we talked about, well, I want to continue our discussion. We were talking about wording, and we actually agreed, like, why say defund the police if that isn't what you mean? Hello, like, isn't this basic communication? If you don't mean something, if you have to keep explaining it, then let's try some other wording for the messages. But I want to talk about that because there's so much hypocrisy in that. And I was mentioning that, you know, that was my point. Like, if you take a knee in front of the flag instead of standing up, you're dividing your base. And so how you come across is very important. And, you know, just even in talking about, like, women, they said, why don't you, I don't remember who it was that said it, but like, we should say pro-women instead of pro-choice. I thought, wait. Pro-women, which women? Because conservative women don't get acknowledged. We saw that yesterday when you talked about the all-women communications team. Well, wait a minute, no, there is always, this isn't the first one, there already is one. But if you have conservative thoughts, if you are pro-life, then you're not considered pro-women. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I thought it was interesting that they would have chosen to include pro-choice and pro-life as one group. Obviously, they couldn't be further from two-sided than any other group that's out there. I think that they also kind of rushed into some of their comments when they were talking about how they would like to include what Obama was telling them, but they want to say that he's wrong, but they like him too much to say that he's wrong, but they're going to disagree with him. If you choose words like defund the police, most people with any common sense would hear those words and think that you want to take away funding or support for them. And they said, well, that wasn't our message. What we want to do is reimagine the police. Well, then why didn't you say, let's reimagine the police? Instead, you got a whole different group of people thinking one way from the other, and you've created a bigger divide. If you want to make reform in the police departments, by all means, there's a whole plethora of things that you could do in a number of first responders protocols, and the police are no different. Though we appreciate what they do, everybody has a little bit of what they could improve on.
Right, and I think that it falls back on Obama trying to dictate or give them direction as far as how how to word their cause just to get more people interested. He said, well, Joy was so funny. She said, don't say defund the police. We should use give me liberty or give me death. Now, since when is Joy about liberty in any sense of the imagination? If we go down the Biden road, we're going to be losing a lot of liberties. But I think it all boils down to having a good narrative, sticking with it, rather than using negative terms, because they're going to lose people. I mean, that's just the way it is. Sunny was saying, I think he's wrong. Defund the police is their rallying cry. She said it isn't eliminate the police department. It isn't stripping agencies of money. It is reimagining policing in this country due to systemic racism. And so there she goes again, that defund the police has nothing to do with police departments. It has to do with racism. It just always comes back to that circle.
And we saw the divisiveness right on the stage, because Sarah said, I can't be a part of the conversation. And this is what I found to a shocking degree, because I kept thinking, okay, when the rioting was going on and everybody was talking about defunding the police, I thought, can we all agree that rioting is bad? Would you think that everybody would agree? No. No, not everybody agreed. I was told by some people that you care more about property than people. And I said, wait a minute, there are people being killed. There are police officers that have been killed because of the rioting. I care, if you care about Black Lives Matter, don't you care about all lives? And what about those Black lives that were police officers? And so what I have found is that there is a narrative, and just like we saw today, Sunny is like, nope, you can't change the words. This is our rallying cry. This is a demand for policy change, and you can't mess with it. Never mind that it's illogical. Never mind that it communicates the wrong message. These are our words, and we're going to stick with them. It's like, that's not logical. That's not how you get things done.
But Joy also jumped in and said, well, you need to understand the analogy. If a house is burning, you need to give all the attention to that house, AKA Black Lives Matter, and you cannot, care about the other houses that are around. You need to focus on just that one house, because that's where the problem is. And I would beg to differ, because I think if there's a fire anywhere, you need to protect the other properties around it just as much, so that they don't have the same issue. And you need to figure out what it was that caused that fire in the first place. You need to get to the root cause and figure out why people are feeling that there is such hatred for another person just because of the color of their skin.
And we need to care about one group by not making the other groups feel bad. Like, what? There's ways to do that. And then, so moving along then to their next segment, there's a new movie out by Kate Winslet. Is that the right actress? Yes. Kate Winslet. And it's about an intelligent woman in the 1840s who collects fossils. And then they have a sex scene, because she is a lesbian woman and she falls in love with this married woman. And Kate said she was so proud of the scene because they didn't have makeup and they didn't have clothes on. And I think, whoa, isn't this wonderful? Like, seriously, this is your idea of an intelligent woman? Like, why? Why does Hollywood have to push the sex scenes so often? And now we have a lesbian sex scene that we're supposed to all be excited about.
Well, if I could jump in on this one, because I'm pretty partial to dinosaurs. I almost majored in geology, and so so to me the movie would be a great movie. It's about women breaking into a form of work that was male dominated, and so that's the whole premise of the show. It's like she's breaking in, she's setting new boundaries, she's getting in. And then, of course, Hollywood has to throw in a lesbian sex scene. All right, is it going to make the movie any better? Like, who's it going to draw? Like, now, can you take your kids? I mean, it's not just even a lesbian sex scene. It's a sex scene in a dinosaur movie. It's about women breaking barriers. Now, is that the only way we can break a barrier, is to prove that, we're more amorous on the movie screen? I'm sorry. It's like some of that stuff, it's just, I think Hollywood's just going a little bit too far anymore. It's like sex sells. I get it. I understand it. Do I agree with it? Not at all. This would be a fantastic movie. I honestly, if I could just put a quick plug in there, one of my good friends' family found a dinosaur out in Montana. Whitney Klasna, her family, and this dinosaur is out in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. So that's kind of exciting. So I thought it would be a cool movie, and I think Whitney would enjoy that movie as well.
Yeah, this isn't the first movie that I thought was ruined because you had to throw a sex scene in. And she was in the Titanic, and I felt like, why did they have to have the sex scene in that movie? Because I wanted to take our young children to it too. So I guess she has a history of throwing sex scenes into her movies just for, you know, I don't know. I don't know what the reason is, but anyways, we're going to end there, and we're going to come back in the next segment and talk about lockdowns. There's a lot of different aspects, from the economy to church to the personal situation. So right after these messages, we'll be right back.
You just might find the home of your dreams this weekend by watching the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes Sundays at 6 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 on Beck, featuring properties from Bismarck, Mandan, Minot, and surrounding areas. The Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes presents desirable properties that are for sale, lets you meet your Alliance realtors, and provides critical insights into local happenings from community and business leaders. Join us this Sunday evening at 6 or Wednesday at 7 for the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes on Beck.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
Is your business phone system outdated and expensive to maintain? Most large VoIP companies leave you on hold or struggling through online support and training for your employees. With Beck Connect, you always have fast, friendly, local support. Familiar faces with the know-how to keep you connected. Take advantage of the newest technology in voice calling, video conferencing, and virtual meeting rooms. Beck Connect gives you all the features you need with no upfront investment and no obsolete hardware or software ever again. Simplify your communications. Choose local. Choose Beck Connect.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Howdy folks, it's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boysin breakfast and homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. And during this segment, we're going to talk about lockdown or no lockdown. Now, there's a lot to talk about, and so we're just going to touch on a few things. I want to talk about the economy. I want to talk about how it affects people personally. And I also then will talk about in the next segment about churches, because having the freedom to worship and weigh that with lockdowns has become a pretty big topic. But first of all, let's look at what happened here with COVID. The economy was humming along. We had a low unemployment of 3.8% in February, and then by May, it shot up to 13%. And so that was, we lost basically 20.5 million jobs. And so what is a little bit surprising, so, okay, look at this chart here. And here's the job growth. So look at what happened in April, like really dropped dramatically. And what is surprising, that it was originally predicted by the Congressional Budget Office that we would, by the end of the year, be at an unemployment of 9.5%. We've actually done better than that. We're at 6.9 right now. But so you can see what happened. And let's go ahead to the next chart. So we'll just take a look at the U.S. At a glance, according to the charts. And so here's the unemployment rate. Shot up like crazy, but it's down to 6.9%. And it was predicted that we would be at 9.5%. So we actually are doing better than predicted. And then let's go to the next one and we'll see how it hasn't been even. So unemployment has gone down, and you'll see North Dakota, we are at, let me see if I can find my numbers here. North Dakota, because it's an agricultural state, that we're doing better than a lot of them. And so we're still higher than we were by 2.5%. We were last year, and now we're like at 3.5%. So we're doing fairly well. The states that are really hurting are like Nevada. They're the states that rely on tourism. So we're not surprised about that, travel and tourism. And I found an article in the Harvard Business Review that said the economy is bouncing back faster than expected because some of the things that were unaffected by COVID, housing, utility, and food consumption, because those things didn't really change. And the lockdown affected some of the big items like autos and durable goods, that they took a hit, but once things started to smooth out a little bit and lockdown stopped, the people came back and they bought those things. And the sectors that are still hurting are the tourism and the travel industry, because even if you can travel, it's not what it was before, and a lot of the things have shut down. So looking at those charts, we can see that it's not even, we are doing okay, but now with an increase, a lot of the states are locking down again. And if we can get this picture up here, there's a lady, 90 years old in Canada, who decided she opted for euthanasia. Because she said, I can't go through this again. They were talking about a second lockdown, and the first one was hard because she's in an assisted living place where you don't have family visiting, the activities are canceled. And I have a 94-year-old dad, and he's at assisted living, and our family is very faithful at playing hangman over the phone, and Wii bowling. We'll visit him outside his window. But she said, I just can't go through it again. And it's sad. Euthanasia is a tragedy no matter what the reason, but she chose to die rather than go through another lockdown. So I think we really have to take a look at this. Your thoughts?
So I think that the unemployment numbers, that chart was really, really powerful, where you see that it just shot up, record unemployment, unlike this nation has ever seen. Like, you look back at that, however far back that chart goes, this is worse than any of those years. And if you are unemployed, it's hard. My husband was laid off last November. He had interviews through March, but then in March, they stopped. All of the job postings, they disappeared. All of the interviews that he had scheduled, they said, we're not gonna go through with the interview at this time. We're rethinking our plans. And if that's you, if you're unemployed or underemployed and having to work in another industry in order to make ends meet for what you hope is the short term, this is still an ongoing problem. This is still something that can weigh on you and weigh on your family as you're trying to figure out how to move forward, and we're stuck. Like, to say that we're going back into lockdowns again it's terrifying.
You know, it's made a lot of long-term care residents extremely, extremely frustrated. There are many who have just basically been staying there and waiting for their time to be up. Imagine being in a situation where you've been moved out of your home that you've had as an adult for many years, and you go into this foreign environment where you are not able to socialize with any of your family. You're not able to socialize with the other residents. The only interaction you're getting is someone in a hazmat suit that comes in to visit you, to give you your meds or bring you your meals. These folks are going into severe depression. This is not how they wanted to spend their twilight years. I just went to a wake for a family member the other day, and you know, she just was ready. It's like, please come take me. I don't want to do this. She was losing her eyesight, so FaceTime and the like was not even an option for her. I have family members that have dementia that are in long-term care facilities, and they are forgetting the people that they loved all these years as each day go by. And you can't FaceTime with them. They look at the screen and say, well, I've already seen this show, and just turn it off, not knowing that it's their family members anymore. Another family member in a care facility for rehab, and we knew it was going to happen, but you know, they test them almost ad nauseum, and finally tested positive, and now got moved into the active COVID ward, even though this person does not have any symptoms. And with leukemia, there is a good chance that someone that does have an active case and reinfects him, it could take him. And I think it's just horribly heartbreaking.
Right. You know, and getting back to your friend there, who's to say it wasn't a false positive? There are so many false positives and false negatives that there's just so many unknowns. But the elderly people, you know, I've always wondered, why can't we put on a hazmat suit and go in and visit them? Yeah. You know, if the doctors and the workers, the healthcare workers, if they can do it, why can't I put that on and go and visit grandma or grandpa? That just doesn't make any sense. But when you think about some of the other industries, like the hotels and the restaurants, they are hurting. And although they are big franchises, friends and neighbors own those franchises, so it does affect local people. It's not just the big companies. And so, you know, I think one way they could help in the future, and I know I hate the word taxes, but we pay a bed and breakfast tax. I'm just wondering if they're going to increase that to try to help them get back. It would be one way for to help them a little bit at a time. And again, I'm not for increasing any taxes at any time, but if I want to help my friends and neighbor, that would be one way to help.
But you know how to help them? We end the lockdowns. End this madness. Let's go out and live our lives. Let's patronize our friends' businesses, the restaurants, the bars. Let's travel. Let's stay in hotels. Let's do the things that are a part of the lives that we want to have. And let's go back to that. Let's start that again and get that economic engine going again. That's how we fix it.
You have an excellent point. I mean, fantastic. But everyone is so afraid of getting arrested or what's going to happen. I'm all about you. I'm all about absolutely just do it. I don't want to bring up masks per se, but that's just part of the whole situation.
Right.
You can't go into a restaurant without a mask, but you can sit there and you can eat with your friends without a mask, and the waitress can come by without a mask. And so none of it makes sense with the lockdowns, but you're absolutely right. We need to open up the economy.
And we need to figure out how to do it. It's complicated. Like, you know, like you say, masks, hazmat suits, taxes, like how can we help? So we're going to places, we're talking about doing things that maybe before we wouldn't have, but it's complicated. We still want to protect people, but we don't want to lock down again. You know, there's a downside to that too. So we're going to continue to talk about this, but I really want to talk about what's happening with the churches, because there's a lot of controversy and legal battling going on. So we'll be back right after these messages.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caneline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caneline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
Hi, welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We've been talking about lockdowns, and we know it's complicated. We are not sympathetic. We've had family members that have gotten sick, but we also are sympathetic to what it means when we are locked down. So I want to talk about churches, because the Supreme Court actually came through in record time, apparently, and they struck a blow for religious liberty. There was a case that they heard about New York, because Governor Cuomo has red and orange zones, and they're going into the orange zone now in New York City based on, the number of COVID cases. And that meant that if you're in the red zone, only 10 people can go to church. If you're in the orange zone, 25 people can go, regardless of the size. Now, this is the inside of St. Patrick's Cathedral. Since they're going into the orange zone, that means 25 people can be in there. That's a little silly. And so the Supreme Court said no, and it was the Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn and the Orthodox Jewish Social Service Organization are the ones that filed the petition. And in the petition it said there were no similar caps on businesses such as pet stores and acupuncture parlors, which would suggest that the state of New York considers shopping more important than praying. Obviously. Yeah. So it was a 5-4 decision, and all three of the appointees under the Trump administration voted for religious protection, which means that had he not made that appointment of Justice Coney Barrett, that it would have been a 4-4 tie, and that the ruling would have stood, that you couldn't have more than 25 people in a building. Well, also there was just on November 24th, there was another case is filed that the Supreme Court is going to hear, hopefully, basically the same thing. In San Diego, they're saying the same thing, that you can't meet in churches, and yet, because that's not essential, and yet, this is what is essential. Liquor stores, of course. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's a horrible thing. Cannabis dispensaries, convenience stores, hair salons, and pet groomers. That those can operate, but churches cannot. So in Minnesota last year, I want to just talk about 2 cases now, and then I hear what you have to say. In Minnesota last year, in May, they had very strict lockdowns. And finally, the Archbishop of the Catholic Diocese and the Lutheran churches said, okay, enough is enough. We're going to defy this because I think they were only allowed 25 people in the church. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to start coming to churches and we're going to say 250. So that forced the governor's hand. He met with them and they compromised and they said, okay, 200 people. And this was in May. And things did open up later. But the same thing just recently happened in Fargo. I don't know if you heard about that. Fargo had said last month only 50 people per church, regardless of the size of the church. So I have a friend, and we're going to put it up here. I have a friend who writes a column for the Fargo Forum. And she writes on the religion page, and she made the point that we're not being selfish when we want to worship. She said, as we're learning and focusing, so Roxanne Salonen, she has a religious column on the Fargo Forum, and I took some excerpts from it because I thought it really hit the nail on the head. She said, as we're learning, focusing on physical health to the detriment of emotional and mental health can be tragic. And the faith community, spiritual health, and in the faith community, spiritual health also figures in. The sacraments are to our souls what healthy meals are to our bodies. And the whole community benefits from a spiritually fit faith community. It's not about stubbornness or being unreasonable or uncaring, but about considering the whole and understanding that though we'll all die physically, our eternal souls will never die and also require care. Your thoughts?
I think the question is, are churches essential? and they are. Like, they're an important part of our lives. They're an important part of how we interact with others. How not just it's not just a one-on-one thing. It's not just you going to church and your responsibility, but it's a corporate worship, and it's coming together with people. And we need that. We need to connect with others. We need to show that to our kids. I want my kids to see us coming together as a community and growing stronger and growing closer when things are hard. That's what I want them to see, not to separate and hide from things that we're afraid of.
Very true. My grandson just brought up a story to me not too long ago about trees, and my daughter read it to him, and it talks about how trees actually communicate with one another through their root systems. They intertwine, and the information, the nutrients, the water, everything that's sent through the roots from one tree to another will tell that tree exactly how's the weather, what's going on, what are the dangers. They're able to communicate with one another in order to flourish, and we need to do the same thing. They close these churches down. It's taking an essential part of our lives away from us.
Yeah, I attend a nice Catholic church over in Mandan, and at first they had taken away all the books, the missalettes. Now you can go ahead, you can have a missalette and take it home and then just bring it back with you every Mass. But I thought it was kind of funny too, because they discouraged loud singing. And it's like, you know, come on, that's part of the whole church experience, is to go and praise the Lord, you know, through song. It's, you know, so our priest kind of did away with all of that. It's like, sing as much as you want, music is part of it, it's all good. But when you talked a little bit about liquor stores, you know, we have several reservations in the area, but one that was on the national news was down in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. And they said, by closing these establishments, you're not getting rid of the problem, you're moving the problem. So they go over the state line into Nebraska to go ahead and purchase alcohol. So now you have alcohol and you have people on the road driving. And so it's more, there's just so many factors that I don't think they see the big picture of how it is harming all these establishments, the businesses, the churches. I think that's an important point for people to consider.
You know, I want to add, I think I forgot to add that in Fargo, that there was an outcry, there was an outpouring of strong opinion, and they took it back. That's an important point that I didn't add. And so they went back, and so our voices are being heard. And I know right now in a lot of the states where they're starting to increase lockdown again, that there are religious leaders who are saying, no, we need this. And call me paranoid, but I almost wonder if we're being discriminated against in some ways when you can go to a pet groomer or a salon and all these other places, tattoo parlors, they get left alone, but then the churches don't, at a time when we really do need to come together. Hello, Dave, you taking a look at 2020? That if you're a spiritual person, now you need your church more than ever, your faith community, and that we come together. And so that's one of the things I've really, really appreciated about North Dakota. We were one of the first states to open up our churches. And at my church, at Cathedral of the Holy Spirit, they made so much seating because it's every other pew, so we really are spaced apart. But they took the doors off the small chapel and put pews facing the front. They filled the gathering space with chairs. We have another side chapel. They put a video screen in. And then if that's not enough, you can go in the basement, you can go in the balcony. They are making room because they know how important our prayer life is to us and worshiping.
Yeah, that's a great part of being from North Dakota, I guess. You know, faith, family, and our country, I think it's all important.
It is, and I only have 1 minute left, but I want to take a quick look too. We were going to talk about schools, and I just think that that's another consideration. We have faith and we have education, and if we could just go to the chart. Maybe there isn't one. Oh yeah, there is. Okay, this is the, if you can look at, like in some states, you cannot meet in person. Some, it's up to them, there's partial closure. But there was the Bismarck Tribune came out with a study, a national study that showed that the kids are doing okay, except in math. The kids are falling behind nationally in math. So that's another conversation we have to have. This is North Dakota, this is how it looks. This is across the state where there's a hybrid, where you're doing some of the classes on Zoom, and sometimes you're meeting in person. Most of them, the majority, are either meeting in face or at least some combination of that. So when we come back, we're gonna move over to the lighter side. I think we need that. Every day we need that. So we'll be back in just a minute.
You just might find the home of your dreams this weekend by watching the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes Sundays at 6 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 on Beck. Featuring properties from Bismarck, Mandan, Minot, and surrounding areas. The Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes presents desirable properties that are for sale, lets you meet your Alliance realtors, and provides critical insights into local happenings from community and business leaders. Join us this Sunday evening at 6 or Wednesday at 7 for the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes on Beck.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Howdy folks, it's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the County Line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it It is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. And everybody likes gingerbread cookies in the Christmas season, right? Well, and maybe you've made a few. We'll talk about that. I want you to see a contest. This was in Newark, New Jersey. The Arts Council did a contest. This was their second annual contest for a gingerbread making contest. So let's take a look at some of the, he made the Notre Dame Cathedral. Talk about ambitious. Look at this. He actually carved, he made the little carvings, he constructed it, and when you look at the stained glass windows, those were made from melted gummy bears.
Whoa, genius.
Is that what you guys do with your gummy bears? You make art with it? Look at that.
Insane.
Look at that. Like, why would you even enter the contest if this guy's going to be in it? You know what his prize was? $100.
Oh my gosh.
He obviously wasn't doing it for the money. So here's the guy. He won last year too, but it was a much simpler. It was a Frank Lloyd Wright house. Way simpler. I don't know what got into him this year, but oh my gosh, look at that. So we've made gingerbread houses a couple times at our house, but I want you to know what we start with. Let's see if we can get my home pictures up there. Okay, this is what we start with. Only because my husband noticed it. And so there's my son. He lives in Guatemala now, Luke. And we decided we were going to have a competition. There's John and Isaac. Isaac is now a freshman in college. And here's some of our creations. We didn't use gummy bears, and our frosting kind of melted a little bit. I want you to know we were trying our best. This is our best. And this is, Luke gets a little creative. We had extra frosting, so we thought it should be snow around that snow. And we actually did have a winner of our contest. The winner ate everything the next morning. We got up. He had licked all the frosting off of everything. And so all our effort, all our hard work on the gingerbread houses.
Was he the winner or was he the judge? Maybe he was judging them for...
Well, he judged the frosting because he left the houses and he just lapped up. It actually was a she. And we were watching, it was my daughter's dog. And that dog was a problem, and it went to a new home that has a pet door. She really needed to go in and out, but it was like so classic that we would wake up the next morning and there was no snow on our gingerbread houses. So do you guys like to make gingerbread houses or do Christmas baking?
I think it's so fun.
Do you get a kit or do you do it from scratch?
Well, so we actually buy boxes of graham crackers and use graham crackers to construct all of our gingerbread houses. A friend a few years ago did exactly what you did, and she has every year set it up as a competition. She takes photos of everyone's labeled gingerbread houses, and then she posts them on her social media platform of choice, and based on however many reactions that they get from all of their friends, they judge the winner based on that. It's really easy to set up and fun, and it's a good way to connect with your community in a digital way. So.
Oh, I would love it if people sent in. I'm sticking my neck out here because I never did this before. But if you send your pictures of gingerbread houses in to us, we'll get them up on the screen.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. We can post them.
To Beck. Go to the website. I don't know what email to tell you, but you guys are smart. You can figure it out, right?
Absolutely. I don't think we've done gingerbread houses since my children were very little. We've kind of moved away from sugar and sweeteners and those kinds of things. So we kind of reach out for alternative baking things for the holidays. Come up with something new.
Christmas, what can you build, make into a house that's healthy?
Well, I would start with fruits and veggies. You know,
veggies.
Yes, they're very durable.
can make that
I
into
suppose
something.
you could almost make like a wreath, like make cauliflower on the outside
Absolutely.
and put cherry tomatoes for the cherries. I'm sure you can come up with creative ways. We don't per se make gingerbread houses, but our neighbor lady taught us how to make springly cookies. And it's an old, she says it's Norwegian. I think it's Norwegian. It's got to be Scandinavian, Norwegian, German, something like that. But it is a stamped cookie, and they are phenomenal. Now they have anise in them, so they taste a little bit like a pfeffernusse cookie for any Germans. I mean, everyone around here pretty much knows what a pfeffernusse is, those little white snowball cookies. But it really pretty. They have a stamp, and so it's kind of sort of, I'll bring some next week.
Oh, yes, and yeah, bring them in and we'll show everybody your artwork there. So how about some parting thoughts before we have to close for the day?
So I guess I'll start. My parting thought is if you are struggling, if you're having a hard time with any part of this, with the isolation or unemployment or just general malaise and not feeling like you have that connection, reach out to somebody. I mean, if you're my friend, call me first. But please find somebody in your circle and reach out and connect, because we all need that.
Right, yes, thank you.
You know, I was fortunate enough to have my children and my grandchildren home with me for Thanksgiving. It was so therapeutic, not just for me, but for my grandkids. I mean, what are we doing to our children right now? We all need that connection, and I would challenge you all to find some way to connect with family. Whether it's in person, online, whatever, find a way to reach out. It's that important.
Yeah, I think I'll just shirt tail on that as well. There are people hurting. Suicide rates are up. I mean, I wanted this to be kind of a happy ending, but we just take care of each other. Go see your friends. Go see your relatives in the nursing home. Just put on the protective gear. I can't see how they can not let you in. But just, if nothing else, maybe talk to a school, maybe get a class organized where they'll send cards or something to the nursing homes.
Right. So, and you can play hangman with your loved ones over the phone. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Stick with us, and you'll see Joel Heitkamp on Down the Road with Joel Heitkamp.